What's up, everybody? Welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. I am Wyatt, and today on the show, I'm going to be talking about 8 Mile. If you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Cinema Trip Reviews. Also, wherever you get your podcast, drop in and leave us a good review. So, with Eminem's new album, The Death of Slim Shady, dropping this Friday, I wanted to go back and revisit 8 Mile from 2002. This has been a long time since I've seen this movie, probably like 15 years or so. It's funny because I actually remember seeing this movie in theaters. This is probably one of the first, if not the first, R-rated movie I saw in theaters. And this movie came out in 2002, so I believe I was like 9 years old when this came out, surprisingly. So like a 9-year-old had no business going to a movie seeing 8 Mile with Eminem in it. Because at that point in time, I was way too young to be listening to Eminem, even though I was. I remember listening to the Marshall Mathers LP whenever it came out around that time. I remember seeing the music videos for like The Way I Am, Real Slim Shady on MTV all the time in the mornings. I remember like stealing my brother's cassette tape or CD, like listening to it. And then I was actually like super excited for the Eminem show when it was coming out. Because I remember getting the Eminem show, and there was also like a special edition that had like 8 Mile stuff on it, I believe. And then, of course, you have the 8 Mile soundtrack that dropped around the same time with like all new original music and everything, which was an absolute banger. I mean, 8 Mile soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks around. Normally you have soundtracks that are like, compilations of different like music throughout the years or around that time period the movie is set. This one is just a full, completely new album of new music with M and everybody that's affiliated with them around that time. So in 2002, if you were an Eminem fan or an Eminem stan, this was the best time to be a fan. You were getting a ton of content at that point in time. I mean, this is only a couple years removed from MMLP. You have Eminem show, the 8 Mile soundtrack, and then bam, 8 Mile. So as a 9-year-old kid, I was super in me and my buddies were super into Eminem at that point. We're super just getting into rap at that point. I just remember being so hype about this movie coming out, like seeing the trailers and everything. And I specifically remember, like everybody else's parents back in the day, they don't even want you listening to Eminem, let alone going to see a movie with Eminem in it and what could possibly be in that movie. So my parents wouldn't take me. So I remember my friend's mom, like they actually went and saw the movie previously, and they ended up convincing my parents to let me go see it with them again. I can vividly remember going and like having that movie theater experience, watching 8 Mile on the big screen. I just remember being so pumped and so hyped when that like rap battle came at the end of the movie. Just watching it last night, it still gives me goosebumps watching it. I mean, it's very effective in that, right? Now, it's a movie I haven't really seen over the years since. I mean, I watched it, I saw it in theaters when it came out on DVD. I remember watching it a bunch around that time or like the next couple years. And then I just stopped. It's been quite a long time since I've seen this. I have gone back and like watched those rap battles from the end of the movie on YouTube, like a lot of other people do. But I actually haven't sat down and rewatched the whole movie. So I really wanted to see like how it holds up after all these years. Now, this movie was directed by Curtis Hanson, and this was definitely his biggest hit out of his whole filmography. I know LA Confidential was pretty popular whenever it came out, from what I understand. I think I've only seen that movie like once. I don't really remember too much of it, but this movie definitely, kind of launched his career. And I don't think he really put anything else out that kind of reached this type of level. This movie was up for a ton of awards. It even won a bunch of awards. I know Eminem won an Oscar for like best original song for a movie. So Eminem has an Oscar to add to all of his like Grammys and other awards. But this movie was huge when it came out. There was tons of buzz around it. You really couldn't go anywhere without hearing Lose Yourself. I mean, for that whole like next 2 or 3 years, I believe, Lose Yourself was fucking everywhere. It was on all the radio stations. You could not get away from it. It was one of those songs. So much so that like whenever I do go back and listen to Eminem stuff, Lose Yourself isn't one of those songs I really go back and listen to often, just because of how much that song is just pounded into everybody's brain at the time. As far as the cast goes, of course, you have Eminem playing B Rabbit in the movie. You have Brittany Murphy. You have Anthony Mackie as Papa Doc. You got Falcon up in here in one of his like earlier roles. You got Mekhi Phifer. You got Michael Shannon. And you do have some rap cameos in there as well. You have Obi Trice. You have Exhibit. Proof is in there. He's actually like the first guy he battles at the very beginning of the movie. He's Proof. And then he actually comes up at the end of the movie as well. R.I.P. Proof. Now, the movie as a whole, for those who don't really know, it's a semi autobiography. It's a semi biopic. It's not about Eminem itself. He just took a lot of personal things from his life and inserted them into the movie. It's not necessarily like an Eminem origin movie or anything like that, but there's a lot of like similar elements from his life that were incorporated in here. And they actually did film in Detroit. They filmed on 8 Mile and a lot of the real locations that Eminem was around and grew up in. The whole movie is pretty much B Rabbit, played by Eminem. and you're just following him going through all this bullshit, just kind of slowly and slowly creeping towards rock bottom where he's trying to figure out what the fuck is really going on here. I mean, of course, you have the rap battles in there. That's one of the more important things that are going throughout the movie, as far as trying to get your rep up, trying to get some studio time so you can kind of make something yourself, put a mixtape out there to kind of get notoriety throughout the city. So, I mean, the battle rap and all that kind of takes place, but there's so much other shit that you're following throughout the rest of the movie. So, I mean, it opens up with him, choke. Everybody knows he ends up choking at this rap battle at the beginning, going up against Proof. He doesn't have anything, and he doesn't really have any confidence. It seems like he has anxiety. He's throwing up. He got vomit on his sweater already. Mom spaghetti. And throughout the course of this movie, you're seeing him kind of slowly go through the shit and breaks him down until he realizes, like, I know what I have to do. I got to go my own way. And he slowly starts building that confidence and building that respect up. And then it slowly, builds up until that final showdown, then that rap battle. But there's so much other bullshit that he has to go through throughout this movie. I mean, from just breaking up with his girl and like giving her his car, to having to go back and move back to 8 Mile with his mom in her trailer. And his mom is dating like a younger guy that went to high school with Eminem and everything. There's a lot of bullshit that goes on top of it. He has another dude that keeps promising him, like, yeah, I got you. I know, dude, that'll help you get some studio time, get your name out there. And you have his boy Future, who is pretty much Proof in this movie. And if you know anything about kind of Eminem's backstory, Mekhi Phifer is definitely like Proof in this story. He plays Proof's role as like his best friend. And I'm pretty sure Proof is the one that like MC'd the different ciphers and everything that the M went to, and was winning these rap competitions and rap battles. Keeps trying to convince him to do these rap battles to gain his rep, build his reputation up in the city as a battle rapper so he can get his name out there even further. And then you have this other dude that's on his other side who Future is just trying to warn him against, who's just all talk. He always talks his bullshit, never really backs it up or anything, giving you false promises and false hope. So like he's just trying to warn him from that. So you have these kind of angel devil on M's shoulder throughout the movie, trying to get him to go with different ways. And then you have the drama with his mom, who is getting evicted from her trailer or having issues with her boyfriend. And then also, issues with his car and his work and his job. He might get fired from his job if he keeps becoming late every day because of his car breaking down. So it's just one thing on top of another. And if you really listen to Eminem and a lot of his music, a lot of these story beats and a lot of the story in this movie really remind you of like the Slim Shady LP with like Rock Bottom and If I Had, those types of tracks. And it really kind of reminds you of the type of shit that Eminem had to go through at that time as a young, hungry rapper trying to get in the game and also trying to feed his family and, stay alive at that point in Detroit. This movie is just under 2 hours long, but I do believe it was really well paced. I could see some people finding this a little boring at times, but I think there is just enough tension and drama throughout the movie that keeps it exciting. And this movie does involve a lot of real issues, a lot of stuff that a lot of people can relate to. And I think, especially for people that can relate to certain matters in this, it could give you anxiety at times. I'm not saying I can relate to, everything in this by any means, but there's certain elements of this movie that I can relate to, and it definitely gives you some anxiety in a way. But I think the execution of it was really well done, especially as far as like family drama and drama with friends or just conversations with friends go. I mean, and that was some of the best parts about this movie. Is this is set, or I believe, around like 1995. A lot of these conversations that M is having with his boys, in the car or somewhere else, it's a lot of stuff like that. If you're into hip hop or know about hip hop, you're really into those conversations. They're talking about like Biggie or the Beastie Boys or Pac. They're talking about the music scene at that time, like East Coast versus West Coast. A lot of the elements of that time period are incorporated into some of these conversations, which, watching it back whenever it originally came out as like a 9-year-old kid, a lot of these references and a lot of shit really went over my head. I'm just there to watch Eminem battle rap some dudes, watching it now as an adult, I'm really getting into these conversations. I'm really understanding the drama of the movie. And I think that's what works really well about it. And along with the cinematography as well, this movie really is grounded and feels real. It feels like you're watching somebody's life. And with this movie being shot on location at 8 Mile and a lot of these locations in Detroit, it gives you a lot of that dirtiness and grittiness of Detroit. And the whole movie just feels like dirty and gritty. It seems like it has like a filter over top of it as well, which I really like that aspect of it. It kind of gives you more realism with it, and it really makes it feel grounded, especially going along with the soundtrack of that time, because I did mention the actual soundtrack of the movie with a lot of the original songs, and there are some of those instrumentals and real songs mixed in throughout. like Lose Yourself, like the instrumentals in there, like when Eminem's trying to write, it has certain little parts of the lyrics kind of blocked out, like he's actually thinking of them. He's actually writing the song in that moment of the movie. But you're getting a lot of other songs in the movie that aren't on the actual soundtrack in this one. You're getting like Juicy by Biggie, you're getting like Shook Ones by Mobb Deep, you're getting a lot of other songs of that time period in the movie that they weren't able to get on the soundtrack, or they just didn't want on the soundtrack. Maybe they just wanted all original stuff on there. But you're getting a lot of the songs that were around that time period, and just further adds on to everything else to make this feel like a well lived in movie. But going back and really watching this movie now, I have a greater appreciation for it. Just like understanding the conversations a lot of these guys are having in the movie about what was going on in the rap game at that time, or just just understanding the struggles that they're going through at that point in time, and definitely makes it stand out above all these other kind of somewhat biopics that are out there, because a lot of biopics nowadays kind of run through like the same formula and everything. Now, this isn't technically a biopic, but it doesn't go through that same format that everything else does when it's kind of talking about like the life of an artist or something like that. This is only really like a couple weeks in the life of B Rabbit. It's not like his whole life or anything. And I'm going to go into my only kind of complaint of the movie here, if you want to call it that. Is because there's no kind of definite close. It's just more of like things are looking up for this character at this point in time. I mean, his mom ends up winning at bingo, getting a lot of money, so they're not going to get evicted. They're able to put food on the table and take care of her daughter. He ended up going and beating Papa Doc and Lickety and the other dude at the shelter in the rap battles. He's on his boss's good side now at work. He's picking up extra shifts so he can make more money to put towards studio time, so he can actually make his mixtape to put out there. But the way the movie ends is just he wins that rap battle, and he's just like, yeah, I got to go back to work. I picked up some shifts. I'm going to go work overtime now. Peace. And then it's just him walking back to work, and that's how it ends. So it's like, eh, there is an end to the movie. Things are looking up for this character. He has his confidence, he has his reputation out there. He ended up beating the free world. Everybody knows him. They know that he has skills now. Things are looking up at his, at home and everything. I mean, he's still living with his mom. He's got to get out of there, but he's also got to save money for studio time. But I mean, so things are looking up at the end of the movie, but realistically, things could just go right back to shitty here in the next couple weeks, because that bingo money is only going to last for so long. He's still going to be living with his mom at the trailer, saving up money for the studio time. Who knows where that could go? He's still going to be working a ton of overtime. He's still kind of in the same position, or could go back into the same position that he was at. He's just going to have that confidence that he didn't have previously. So that's my kind of only nitpick, is that it kind of, other than just Eminem getting his confidence and being able to, to go up there and freestyle and, beat somebody on the stage at the shelter in front of all these people, and prove that he can do it, and prove his name in Detroit. There's really not much else that comes to a close throughout this, or there's really not much of a resolution that's going to go forward throughout the rest of his life here. You just kind of assume like, okay, he's going to make the money, he's going to go, buy studio time, he's going to get his name out there, maybe get famous. And so I mean, you go out on the high note of him winning the battle, but in your mind, especially watching it now as an adult, I'm just like, well, things could just easily go right back to how they were through the middle of the movie, if you want to look at it from like a pessimist or kind of a realistic point of view. But I mean, it still makes you feel good. Like I mentioned, it gives me those goosebumps watching him go out there and kill these dudes during them rap battles, and it still holds up after all these years. Even though I know all of these lyrics to the rap battles after all these years, it's still just as effective, him going at these dudes. And it's easily the best part of the movie. It's what everybody's waiting for throughout the whole movie, is him to go out there and murder these dudes on the stage.
You'll never try to judge me, dude. You don't know what the fuck I've been through. But I know something about you. You went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. What's the matter, dog? You in Paris? This guy's a gangster? His real name's Clarence.
Now, I didn't really get to talk about some of the performances here. Eminem definitely is a standout. Dude can act. Not only can do rap, the dude can act as well. He definitely carries this movie because he has to. He's in damn near every single scene of this movie. He has to carry the movie. Brittany Murphy in this movie is kind of just okay. She doesn't really have too much to do, especially like they don't give her like anything to work with as far as like a huge range of emotions or anything like that. So she doesn't really have too many moments to shine in this. Kim Basinger, I do like a lot of her work. She's not the greatest in this one. I don't know if it's just the accent or just some of the dialogue that was written for her. I don't know. It's just not her best work in this one. The one line that she says that sticks out to me is like, "What are you doing with your life that's so great, rabbit?" But like, I don't know if it's just the accent or just how it's played, but like, I don't know. It's like this isn't. Maybe they could have got someone else for this role. I mean, when she's crying and breaking down, when she's really going through it, I think it's effective. But like some of the other scenes that she has, like I don't know, it's just some of the acting is just not great for her, or maybe just may not have been the best role for her. But Kim Basinger just kind of man this one. Michael Shannon's definitely good at playing an asshole type of dude, and he really does that in this one as the alcoholic boyfriend, who Eminem just ends up beating the shit out of eventually. And Mekhi Phifer, I don't believe I've seen too many of his movies, but I definitely think he did a good job in this one, especially whenever it comes to like kind of the one-on-one scenes with M, when they're really kind of going through the thick of it and having those battles between each other. But I think Mekhi Phifer definitely stands out in this one as well. But overall, I think this movie is very effective. I think it's still a damn good watch. It still holds up to this day. If for any Eminem fans or just any fans of hip hop, I think it's definitely a must watch at this point. If you haven't seen 8 Mile, what are you doing? You definitely need to check this movie out at some point. I'm not saying it's like one of the greatest movies of all time or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if you're a fan of hip hop or a fan of Eminem, this is a must see. You definitely got to check this one out at some point if you haven't. Like I mentioned, the cinematography is fantastic. The music in it is fantastic. A lot of the writing is pretty tight. I don't think there was too many parts of the movie that I thought were like came off weird or kind of cringe. This movie definitely is a full-on drama. So I mean, if you're not into those type of movies, you might not be into it. There is some comedy laced in here and there throughout the movie and like little spurts, which the dude does get a rise me, like especially like with Cheddar Bob and everything. So I mean, it has its moments of comedy, but overall, this movie is definitely a drama. There's a lot of heavy shit in this throughout the movie. So I mean, if you're not into that type of thing, this may not be the movie for you. But out of a buy it, rent it, or miss it for everybody, I'm gonna say a rent it. This is a must rent for everybody. I'm not saying you need to buy this. Like maybe I would buy this because I'm an Eminem fan. I'm a stan. For like the casual fan or casual hip hop fan or casual Eminem fan, this is definitely going to be a movie you want to go out and rent if you haven't seen it. This is a must watch if you haven't seen it at all. I highly recommend it though. But with that said, 8 Mile still holds up after all these years. The ending rap battles are definitely going to stand the test of time. I'm definitely going to be watching those on YouTube. Going forward, I'm going to be watching those rap battles on YouTube probably before I go and watch the full movie again. Just that's how good they are, man, and that's really what a lot of people remember from this. But this is just a reminder that the whole rest of the movie is good as well. You just got to give it that chance if you haven't seen that, because I know that there are a lot of people that have seen the rap battle scenes but haven't seen the rest of the movie to really get the context that's within some of those battles, which it just makes it that much better, especially if you're paying attention. Like I didn't remember, you know, the origin of Papa Doc, like him going to Cranbrook, the private school, comes up earlier in the movie. Like I totally didn't remember that. I was like always wonder like where that information came from, but it comes up earlier in the movie. So it gives a lot of context to those rap battles. If you haven't seen the movie, you definitely need to check it out. But with that being said, definitely go check out 8 Mile if you haven't seen it. I'm super excited for the death of Slim Shady coming out this weekend. So definitely check that out as well if you're a fan of hip hop and fan of Eminem. And also, if you haven't, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Cinema Trip Reviews. Also, wherever you get your podcast, drop in and leave us a good review there as well. And I'll see everybody next time.